We got some big deal signings in the East in the last week. Some big deal signings with two guys who are both top 10 picks. Guys, one of them who's already been onto his second team will start there. Kirby Dach signed an extension in Montreal. 4 years, $13.45 million, 3.36 AAV. Kevin, how do you feel about this deal?
I feel like for Montreal, the AAV is perfect. It's like Doc still has that potential. He's still only 23 years old, and he really hasn't put it together yet. But I think he's going to. He's still like we've talked about this before. It's not these guys aren't coming to the league and it's at 18 they're putting up these crazy stats. Some of these kids they need a little longer. They're coming to the NHL younger,
especially big body centers.
Right, he's 6'4". Like he just needs time to develop a little. So I'm about it. So I like it. I think it's good. It gets him there 4 years. So when he's 27, hopefully by then he's in his
That's
prime.
his prime.
So, right. Yeah. So
and to mention, that's his UFA year. This walks him right to UFA.
Right.
Yeah, which is smart. Smart for him. But he's a Canadian boy. Maybe he'll want to stay.
And for those of you who aren't watching us on YouTube, I pointed to my wrist when talking about Kirby Dach. He had a pretty gnarly wrist injury. And ever since, he just hasn't looked the same. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest gamble of this contract. And that's probably the main reason why the Blackhawks were okay to walk away from him.
He walked into that World Juniors looking like he was going to dominate. He got that wrist injury, and I think he played a little sooner than he should have. And I think that was kind of known. And it definitely hurt him. I mean, hockey is so wrist-based. Like, it's ridiculous. So, like, I think Kirby Dach's healthy now, and I expect Kirby Dach to do pretty good in Montreal. Next one, a big deal. And it's funny because I have a lot to say on this one. So, Tim Stutzle signed in Ottawa, 8 years, $66.8 million, AAV of 8.35, modified no movement clause, 10 teams from years 5 to 8. I'll let you start, Connor. How do you feel about this deal? And why do you feel differently about this deal than Tage Thompson?
At least Stutzle has shown more over a little more time. Has he been a superstar since he's been into the league? No. But he's had consistent production in the NHL. However, this is still kind of a crazy contract for a young kid. This is kind of solidifying the transfer of power in the NHL. Instead of paying players to what they have performed, you are now buying a new car. You are paying for what you're expecting to get out of this asset. And that is riverboat gambling, 100% on contracts, because you never know when a player is going to have a horrid injury or something and, end the career. But at the same time, a lot of these teams are looking at it as, if we can lock these guys up now in this cap world, when the cap goes up 2 to 3 years from now, we're going to have the next Nathan McKinnon contract, and this is going to be fantastic. But still, I mean, for somebody coming out of their ELC, it's a lot of money. It's not like he's a Connor McDavid or an Austin Matthews, right? It's a little bit of a different story there.
You want to know why this deal got done?
Go ahead, take it away.
Because he's going to center Giroux and DeBrincat this year, and his number was going to go way up.
Oh,
they had to get it done before he played with him. That's it. I really think, and I agree with you. I think in like 3 or 4 years, this deal looks just fine. He's super talented. It's funny because I argued the opposite with Tage Thompson. Their numbers are kind of like there. Stutzle is
completely different.
Much better. Stutzle is a very, very good player. Tim Stutzle,
and he's only 20 years old.
He's a future number one. He's a future top player, all-star. He's elite. His skating super elite. I think that Tim Stutzle is as advertised.
And everybody says that he's super dialed in.
Oh, great kid.
So dedicated this summer. So that means he's going to have 120 points this season. Fucking book it.
He's part of that. He's part of that camp, though. He's part of that German camp, dude. He's part of that German camp. Him and Mo Seider are just grinding. They're out Mannheim just grinding.
Whoa. That's the only two names you mentioned? Leon Draisaitl
Not
just
part
gets
of
left.
not part of that German camp that's grinding together in the offseason.
Sheesh.
I mean, they're
German
those
hockey is
those two are
coming a
working
long
out
way.
together. Yeah, it is. It is. The Penguins had a deal in place to trade Zucker along with a first to get cap space. They rejected it. Are they done being all in? I don't know where this came from. It's just on the sheet. It's not for me.
This is something that I had heard about, and I did some of my own little research and talking to some people and looking through some other media members' articles and what they were looking at. Earlier this summer, a undisclosed bottom team offered to take Zucker from the Penguins when they were kind of in the are we going to be able to bring Malkin and Letang back period. They didn't know if they were going to be able to make it work in the cap. This team reached out and they said, hey, you want to get rid of that $5 to $6 million for this season? We'll do it. Give us a first round pick. No questions asked. We'll take them on. And the Penguins turned around and said no. So to me, that was kind of a change in the winds in Pittsburgh. Up until now, they've done everything and anything that they can to A, dump cap space, and B, improve their roster to be all in while they have Malkin and Crosby. And I think this is the change of the winds where we're seeing the Penguins kind of realize that they're not a top flight contender anymore and they need to start thinking about what's next. You know, you've got 3 to 4 more years of the Malkin, Crosby, Letang era. But to be honest with you, everybody talks a lot of smack about the Bruins prospect pool. I think the Penguins are pretty much right there with them.
What are the Penguins' next wave of like Jake Gensel and them? Dude, I would take fucking Pasta over Jake Gensel. Their next upcoming stud. Who's their top young defenseman? It's their youngest pair of defensemen studs surely isn't Lindholm and McAvoy. People forget, like I love that when people just like they're acting like the Bruins are going to be done. The Bruins are still going to have Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak, Taylor Hall, Jake DeBrusk, and 2 stud defensemen. You can retool more than you need to rebuild. Just like you won't suck. And the goaltending. The goaltending. It's
the Bruins will be mediocre.
I don't want to talk about the Bruins anymore. I'm just going to get so frustrated.
But I think the Penguins are going to be just awful.
Bad. Yeah, they'll be bad. And the Bruins will be just mediocre. So they'll like roll in and miss the playoffs. They'll be first round of the playoffs for years and we'll get 12 and 15.
It'll be 2014, 15, 16, 17 Bruins all over again. Yeah, but the Penguins, I don't know. They had a really funky offseason that I just don't understand. Like, they have the new ownership group there.
The Brian Burke effect, Connor. The Brian Burke effect. He's just confusing the shit out of everybody.
And Ron Hextall. I mean,
yeah, I know.
I don't know. It seems like the wheels are about to fall off pretty quickly there. But of course, Sidney Crosby, that name is going to keep them relevant, keep them in the national, TV presence. It is what it is. You just hope that it doesn't completely fall off and Sidney Crosby make a joke of himself at the end of his career.
He won't. There's no way. Crosby's too much of a no. Crosby would be gone. If they weren't competitive, he'll be on the first ticket to playing with his buddy Nate Dogg.
Nate Dogg.
Speaking of Nate Dogg, I don't know if I'll get into it in the West. I'll add it in. One thing that I actually listened to this interview, John Tortorella, torts being torts, baby. He said he has concerns about the locker room and accountability. He said before they even step on the ice, he has some major concerns that have to get fixed. I also heard that Torts and the management group sent an email out to all the players on the team to let them know that this was going to be the worst training camp they've ever had and that it was going to be terrible. Can you imagine Kevin fucking Hayes getting that email? He was probably like, no. Like, it's going to – oh, my. Torts is either going to go in and whip them into being a playoff contender again, or it is going to be so bad. There's no middle ground.
It's either going to be
playoffs or
gritty mania.
Bedard.
Yeah.
I can't wait. He's going to say so much dumb shit in the media. It is going to be awesome. Do we have a Flyers writer inside the rink?
currently, no.
We gotta get one because this guy is gonna give sound bites like you can't believe. I can't wait till he calls out Gritty. He's gonna like fight Gritty. There might be a chance they'll get an actual skirmish.
Rough and rowdy, Torts versus Gritty.
I hate John Tortorella. Oh my god, I can't
But
wait.
it works. Like his process works
For a year or
for
two.
2 to 3 years,
Yeah.
and then it kind of expires. But
Then guys are like, fuck this dude.
if you really look at the Flyers roster, it's decent. Like they
shouldn't be bad.
underperformed last year by all measure of the talent. So I guess this is really going to be the epitome of the players. You know, this is going to be a lot about the players. Do they come in and get ground down by a coach and just be like, screw it, whatever. I'm just going to go through the motions, and they're going to have a really awful year and they're just going to get ripped by their coach and the media constantly, or they're going to come out, they're going to take their beatings by Torts in preseason. They're going to learn from him and get, some of that culture out of him. And they're going to perform and be a playoff contender.
The best roster Torts has had in a long time.
Well, it helps that he hasn't really been around recently.
Yeah, that's true. If he was, if Torts, the problem is with Torts is like Torts talent doesn't really like to play for Torts. So we'll see how the roster looks in a year of Torts.
But Cam Atkinson was like so excited for Torts. That's the confusing part.
I know it's because I think he's your classic just old boys club kind of asshole where he literally picks favorites. like there has to be a reason that some guys are like, I love Torts, and then other guys are like, he's the worst thing that ever happened, and they're both like NHL veteran, well-respected players. It's like
same with the Mike Babcock treatment.
Babcock was a little worse, I think. Babcock was a little on the abusive side.
But you have players even from the Detroit days who think that he walks on water,
Not Dan Cleary. Dan Cleary is not. Or Franzen, right? Is it Franzen who hates him?
I think both, to be honest.
Yeah, I think there might be more than just two. Chris Kreider being blamed for the Carey Price injury. Kevin, what is that about? You guys put things in the sheet that honestly that I didn't look at the sheet till now, and I have no idea what any of these things are. So I'm glad that you two are both here.
Yeah, no. So Bob Hartley, who last coached in the NHL back in 2015, 2016, went on
Who did he coach, Kev?
I couldn't tell you.
The Flames, I thought.
Flames.
So he went on the BPM Sports podcast in Montreal. He discussed Carey Price and that collision back in 2014 between Kreider and Price, and he was blaming Kreider for ending Price's career early and all these injuries to his knees and everything that he continued to go through, which was a very interesting take because I remember that was a big thing back then. Price missed out the playoffs because of the injury, and Kreider's kind of known for hitting goalies. So
yeah, Kreider's also known for going 37 feet off sides because he skates too fast and can't stop himself. It has nothing to do with Chris Kreider being a dirty player. And Bob Hartley's a clown and just wants his name in the media. End rant.